enjoying this little walk. Sorry about that. I hit live, and of course, the second I do so, my phone starts ringing. Always the case. Very busy these days. So, I wanted to come on here and discuss some things. Obviously, with all the Epstein stuff going on in the news, I did a poll on Twitter to see if people would be interested in me putting together a documentary on Epstein Island. I've discovered a lot of stuff about Epstein over the years, and I have a lot of stuff that other people haven't covered, a lot of connections and things of that nature people haven't covered. So I thought I'd go through my live streams I've done on the subject, because I've done countless live streams on Epstein and friends, and we've covered a lot of very important information. So what I'm going to do is go through like I did with the last Pie Fence documentary, where I went through all of my previous ones and took out the best stuff and put it in the Syndicate documentary about Pie Fence. And I'm going to do that for Epstein. I've already started compiling information. If any of you out there in the audience want to help with that, just like hit me up on whatever social media platform you follow me on, and I'll try to incorporate the stuff you send me into it. Keep in mind, it's going to be held to 2 hours or less, roughly, so that people actually watch it. So I'm not going to be just throwing in like everything that people send me. So it's got to be really important stuff to make it in, basically, because there's so much to go over. So I thought that would be a good resource for people. I've never done a documentary on Epstein. I've just done a ton of live streams on the subject. So a lot of people were pretty interested in me doing that, especially with all this nonsense about how they're trying to claim there is no Epstein list and all these things. There is an Epstein list. We have the blacklist that was given out by, I believe it was the butler or something like that. And there's also the flight logs. So we do have people identified, and we know who like financed it. We know who got massages there with their underwear on, Alan Dershowitz, who financed it, Leslie Wexner. So there are names. You know, Bill Clinton's been there countless times, Bill Gates. Like, there are names of people that we know are connected to this that should be under way more scrutiny. Never mind the banking institutions that verifiably transferred and laundered the money around for Epstein, a lot of it. So there's all of that that was never accounted for. So like Deutsche Bank is allowed to, traffic children and make money off that through Epstein, because that's what has been allowed so far, because none of that money's been seized or returned, and none of the banks that allowed him to use their banks have been fined or anything of that nature. Um, and none of the bankers that were at his island have been arrested or anything like that. So, anyways, yes. And to keep things light in the meantime, I'll still be doing meme wars. I'll probably do one tonight, because there's been some really funny Grok memes. There's been some funny Elmo memes, because Elmo got hacked, which was absolutely hilarious, and stuff of that nature. So there's been a bunch of like really good memes. The Coldplay thing where the guy was caught hugging the psyop that's going around now, the Coldplay psyop, the big distraction from all these other things going on. If you watch like the morning news, for instance, it's interesting to see the news cycle, right? They spend like 2 minutes of the end of the broadcast. Sorry, Brutus, come on, stop pulling on the leash, bro. They spend like 2 minutes at the end of the broadcast going over important topics like what's going on over in the Middle East. Sorry, Brutus is being a huge nudge today on the leash. What is up, bro? Tell the audience. What are you doing? You just want to be in charge today? You old mutt. He's like, no, I will not walk nicely on the leash. Screw you. So, anyways, um, so yeah, I'm watching the news broadcast, and they're like, all this stuff is going on. They go over the Coldplay thing, right? And then at the very end of the broadcast, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Israel bombed some world food program thing and killed like 80 people. They were just trying to eat. They weren't like Hamas terrorists or anything. It was just civilians trying to get food in Gaza. And the Israelis are like, oh yeah, let's bomb that and not get in trouble ever for anything they ever do. Somehow they're allowed to continue to do this crap and no one says anything. All these like retards out there, like the Misfit Patriot. Dude, I saw this guy, Misfit Patriot, wrote a letter to Israel. It's still on his YouTube channel. It is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. I'm sorry, I'm misgendering Misfist. It's actually her. So sorry about that. I don't want to misgender such a fine Israeli patriot. Um, it's just insane. I don't know how like anyone could possibly support what Israel is doing. They're literally genociding an entire group of people just because they want to expand territory. It's absolutely insane, but that's what's going on. And of course, the United States is being forced into supporting these types of things. So, bugs out here have gotten absolutely insane recently. I don't know why. Normally, this walk is really nice with not a lot of bugs, but now recently they've just been awful. The cicadas disappeared and the bugs just came out of everywhere. It's really weird. Um, so what else is going on? I had like started looking into Saturn because of all the Saturn symbolism in movies like Dark City, which I just watched with Bianca, and we're working on putting together another Uncensored Cinephiles breakdown of that movie because it's literally filled with like Illuminati symbolism. It's written by a guy who's a Gnostic, so it's full of all that kind of Gnostic nonsense. It's a great film that shows kind of like the simulation theory and stuff like that. So it's really interesting film if you haven't seen it. Definitely go and watch the film before you see our review of it because our reviews are always completely full of spoilers. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just crazy seeing what's going on in the Middle East. And then on top of that, you see there was like an airplane crashed into a school, and you had the Air India flight go down. And most of the people that are looking at these things are saying, there's an issue with critical infrastructure and allowing these foreign nations like Israel to have access to all of this critical infrastructure. I just saw that there was some sort of IT problem up in Alaska, the Alaskan Airlines, and they had to shut down all types of flights for hours. And this keeps happening. You notice this? It hasn't gotten any better. No one has done anything to secure our government systems from these things. And like, I get it for like the defense contractors. The game is obviously, oh, someone stole our plans for the F-22. Now we need the money for the F-24. oh my God, someone stole the plans for the F-24. Now we need money for an F-26 and so forth. And that's, the game, the racket that is the military industrial complex and the fake wars that they keep creating, where none of the people, none of the citizenry really want these wars, but these elites and these bought and paid for politicians keep allowing them to be created because of the masters they serve. And their masters are the banking cartel that owns all these big corporations. And all these big corporations are just like really one corporation that's extremely evil. It's all owned and run by giant asset management firms. And like someone pointed out, corporation comes from the word corpse because it's like a dead thing. So it's like the whole world's being run by an army of dead corporations, like dead businesses run by evil. Like literally, the embodiment of evil is what a corporation is. These big, huge multinational corporations that feed people disgusting shit. You know, like there was an interesting story in church the other day about St. John's Island, which was an island off the coast of South Carolina. And it was where all of the slaves were held before being sold in South Carolina at the like big slave auction they had there, which was like 80% or something of all the slaves got sold there. After the Civil War, they let, the Africans that were there keep St. John's Island or whatever it's called. And they like were allowed to just like have the island, not own it, but live there. And they like turned it into Africa, basically, of course. No actual infrastructure, mud huts, no power, no running water. But they were all like living somewhat healthy and eating the food they grew themselves. And that was fine for a while. They didn't have like big, huge health issues or anything. They were eating natural food. And then in comes, it's not the society you would want to live in, but for them it worked, right? They were at least healthy. Then in comes, in the 60s or something, in the 70s, sometime around then, maybe the 80s, industrialized food and fast food. And within like a few years, because these people were consuming just absolute garbage nonsense, they all started getting like health problems and diabetes, and McDonald's became the number one source for food for people on the island, and they all started getting very, very ill. And if you look at our society with technology, it's kind of the same thing. We've been blindsided by all this tech, this wonderful, wonderful tech, but it's not actually giving us any nourishment. It's just making society worse as people just consume more and more digital garbage. And you have to really wonder what it's even moving us towards. Like, are we getting toward a better world since like 1999, or was that kind of the peak of human civilization and technology is driving us further and further into the depths of hell since then? What type of world are we going into where AI is in control of everything? And if you really think about it, like, we're in this very strange simulation, right? There's clearly a creator. Either you want that to be God or whatever created the simulation. But we're in a simulation. The Bible, I think, is the best description of the simulation and why we're in it. But you can have your own opinion of that. The point is that you can see, like, when you look at stuff like Saturn, for instance, what is the pull on Saturn? What are these rings of Saturn that shouldn't even exist because they're so thin that it's not really likely that those were created naturally? So what created those artificially? why is the moon where it is, and why is it exactly 300 times smaller than the sun, but it's also 300 times closer to Earth or whatever? I mean, it's these things. How do you have the varying laws of physics all working exactly perfectly so that we even exist at all? Like, it's obviously some sort of simulation, because mathematically we couldn't have a universe happen by chance, especially not the one that we exist in. So, with all that being said, if this is technology that's being given to us by evil entities in the simulation, is it trying to trap us in the simulation, right? Is that part of what this all is? The internet, right? The trap. So, just things to think about. Maybe get off the internet after this video, after you hit like and subscribe, of course, and comment, and go out for a walk yourself in the woods. All right. Peace out, everyone. Take care. And, stay tuned for meme wars later tonight or tomorrow night, one or the other. It'll definitely be one of the two. And definitely stay tuned for the upcoming Epstein documentary I will be continuing to work on. So peace out, everyone. Take care.